Hey everybody, I'm Holy Locked, and this is part 2 in my Ret Paladin changes from BFA, to Shadowlands. This is the talent side of it. I had them included in the first video at first, but it ran too long, so I decided to split them up. If you liked the video, please go ahead and hit like for me. I'd appreciate it, and consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate that too. Get the notifications when I put out videos, and in the next few weeks I'm going to be putting out a decent amount with all the changes coming out from BFA to Shadowlands. I'll be talking about Ret Paladins, their covenants, conduits, soulbinds. I've already talked about the spell changes, the talents. But yeah, go ahead and stay tuned for that. Alright, let's get into the video. Okay, so moving on to talents. Open this up right here. So in the first talent row, we have Zeal, Righteous Verdict, Execution Sentence. Alright, so from BFA to Shadowlands, Zeal has not changed. Your Judgment empowers your auto attacks next 3 to make them attack 30% faster and do a little bit more damage. Righteous Verdict, using Templar's Verdict within 6 seconds of a previous Templar's Verdict, makes it do 50% more damage. Execution Sentence has been changed. It used to be a 30-second cooldown, and it did a direct damage up front, and gave them a debuff for 12 seconds, increasing the holy damage that they take. Now what it is, it's a 1-minute cooldown, and does its damage after 8 seconds, kind of reminiscent to its older iterations, where it would slowly, do a little bit of damage, then culminate in one final hit. Alright, so what it is, a hammer slowly falls from the sky, just like it used to be, and after 8 seconds, they suffer X amount of holy damage, plus 20% of the damage taken from your abilities in that time. During that, so to say about that, I wasn't too hot about the change when I first saw it, because, I got used to it. I was like, I missed that damage up front, because this also relies on having uptime in it, which it can be really unfortunate if you have to use it, and then for some reason you end up getting pulled away from the target. It's almost like you just wasted some holy power. It seems like a waste in general. It doesn't feel good. But overall, I've been playing with it a lot more. I definitely have an appreciation for it. It does do a good amount of damage. It's pretty much, I'd say. So if I'm going to judge each tier, which I guess I'll have a recommended talent for each one. Single target execution sentence. And then AoE, of course, you can go Zeal because Mythic Plus, target to be dying, you're swapping a lot. Fights where you have to swap a lot, yeah, same rule. Go Zeal, and then Execution Sentence. Righteous Verdict, I know towards the end of BFA was pretty good, and everything with all the mastery you could get. But right now, as it stands, the build, build I'm going to be talking about, I found really only one build where running Righteous Verdict is good, or at least on par with your Execution Sentence build. But I mean, you don't want to work to just be on par, but hey, if you prefer not having, I completely understand not wanting another cooldown-based ability, not wanting another holy power spender, not wanting to have to worry about doing, a certain amount of damage to make an ability relevant. And if you want to go passive, totally understand. Righteous Verdict, go for it. It's not crazy DPS loss, but it is overall a loss. So Execution Sentence, I'd say a single target. Mythic Plus, or heavy swapping fights, Zeal. Alright, next here, Fires of Justice, trash, garbage, terrible. I hate it. Burn it. Get rid of it. Why? Why do we still have this? At the same time, I don't like abilities that make my holy powers spenders inconsistent. I don't see any scenario where you'd ever want this. Blade of Wrath, same as before. Your Art of War passive, which gives you a chance to reduce the cooldown a bit, basically reset the cooldown a bit, I'm sorry. It occurs 100% more often, so in this case it would be 24% that it would start proccing instead of the 12% as it was before. And increases its damage by 25%, so it is a damage increase on that. Really nice, solid pick. Good, and on a good holy powered builder, as it does give you 2, and being at the beginning of the expansion, having low haste and everything, you're going to want that. So Empyrean Power, few things I guess I could say about this. So it is a returning item. It was an Azerite trait in BFA. Yeah, but basically it's changed, so it only comes off of Crusader Strike now. And so Crusader Strike has a 15% chance to make this next Divine Storm free and deal 25% additional damage. Now, I'm guessing the reason they put it with Crusader Strike is because you have 2 charges of it, and you don't have to just be waiting for it to come off cooldown. But I mean, would it have been that bad if it was just your abilities have a 15% chance to make a Divine Storm free and deal 25% extra damage? I don't think so. Because what, 25% of this is, what, like 300? So I mean, it would still do less than your Templar's Verdict. So even if you do get an Empyrean power proc on single target, I mean, you're not going to want to use it. AoE fights, I still don't see why. I mean, I don't get the point, because having it tied to Crusader Strike, a lot of the time, there's many times I have both charges of Crusader Strike because I don't have any to press it. It's a DPS loss to press, and sometimes, hey, I'm getting lucky with my Blade of Justice procs. I'm getting lucky, say, if I use the Legendary Chest, which has a chance to reset the cooldown of my Hammer of Wrath. Maybe I'm in Wings, so I just have, I just have access to Wrath. Or maybe I'm playing a Kyrian, and my Divine Toll, I get a lucky one, I get, full Holy Power bar from it. There's a lot of scenarios where you're just not going to be using Crusader Strike, and it loses a lot of value on that. So for this talent row, I mean, if you couldn't tell by the way I was talking, Blade of Wrath is going to be the pick here. Good Holy Power generator, even more chance to get it back. Compared to the other two, it definitely does stand out. I think even in, so single target, yeah, Blade of Wrath. In AoE, I'd say Blade of Wrath as well. Because the like I said, Crusader Strike, it's not an amazing ability, so it's not going out of way to so it's not like you're going out of your way to press it. And if you are going out of your way to press it just for a chance at a free Divine Storm, well, you're just losing damage in other places. Like if you're pressing Crusader Strike over Blade of Justice, you better have four Holy Power, and for some reason not be pressing Templar's Verdict. All right. There's never, I don't see any scenario where you're going to prioritize Crusader Strike unless they buff the damage on it significantly. Alright, so next up, CC, Fist of Justice, Repentance, Blinding Light. Doesn't really matter which ones you take. A lot of the time, I do prefer to use Blinding Light. Maybe I need an AoE Disorient or AoE Interrupt in Mythic Plus. You can use Blinding Light. Fist of Justice, same thing. As it was before. Either one, it's not the biggest deals to use any of them. I'm sure you could even get some use out of Repentance, as it's going to affect undead, humanoids, demons. So this one, it really just depends on what you're going to be running. Overall, doesn't really matter. All right, next here, you have Unbreakable Spirit, Cavalier, and Eye for an Eye. Eye for an Eye reduces the damage you take by 35% and does a little bit damage back to them. So basically, what you have here is 2 defensives and 1 mobility. So it's really just going to be a decision on that. Like, on this fight, do I need a lot of mobility? If so, if you need mobility, go Divine Steed. Like when I do like an Azoth or something, and maybe we kill Psychus really fast. Well, sometimes I don't have both charges of a Divine Steed, and yeah, that second one really helps. So in that case, yeah, if you ever need to move around a lot, Divine Steed having 2 charges, which I think it should be baseline, having 2 charges, being as, it's not like it makes you immune to movement impairing effects or anything, it's like drinking a speed potion almost. That's it. Unbreakable Spirit, reduces your defensive abilities like Divine Shield, Shield of Vengeance, and Lay on Hands by 30%. So yeah, 3.5 minute cooldown on Bubble, minute for about a minute and a half cooldown on Shield of Vengeance, and then Lay on Hands, where you at? Cooldown is going to be on 7 minutes. So yeah, as you can see, 30% reduction on those. That's really only those 2. I don't see really any scenarios where you want Eye for an Eye. I mean, Cavalier, if this was replaced with like something that reduces like magical damage taken, to contrast Eye for an Eye, kind of like how how monks have, they have dampen Dampen Harm and Diffuse Magic, I think it's called. Now, something like that would be pretty nice. Alright, so for this tier, if you're doing if you need mobility, Cavalier. If you think you need some scenarios, we're gonna need 2 immunities in the fight. Go ahead and go Unbreakable Spirit. Alright, so the next tier we have Divine Purpose and Holy Avenger. And Seraphim. Alright, so playing around this is a tier. This is probably the tier I played around with the most. Because all the abilities are pretty good. Divine Purpose used to be max level talent, competing with Crusade and Inquisition, which is now gone. I guess that's another change I forgot to mention from BFA to Shadowlands. Its Inquisition is now gone, and Final Reckoning has taken its place. Yes, Inquisition. I mean, I'm be honest, I never liked it anyway. All right, so Divine Purpose sorry. Holy Power abilities have 15% chance to make your next Holy Power ability free and do 20% extra damage. Now, I liked this because there was a lot of moments where I am having downtime, or maybe I'm doing my execution sentence, and I'm not gonna be able to squeeze out that one move. So for one way or another, either I mispressed an ability, or I used the wrong one, or for for multiple reasons why you could not get your optimal rotation inside there. Well, next thing you know, you got as a free Tempo's Verdict, so you're getting 2 or 3 of them in there, or you can even get 4 if you get really lucky, So that feels really nice. Of course, it is an RNG one, so it's hard to test Divine Purpose to see if it's really good, because on some scenarios, it's definitely the highest. On other times, it's mediocre or the lowest. Alright, and then Holy Avenger. This one is very interesting. It's been a lot, I've heard a lot of talk about this because it sounds like it should be really good. And don't get me wrong, it is really good. Downside is the 3-minute cooldown. So you're either going to have to sit on this for a minute, you're going to either have to delete wings for a minute, or every, third wings, you'll be able to line them up together. Otherwise, I mean, I guess using Holy Avenger without wings, it could be nice, because it gives you some damage outside of wings. Maybe that's what they're going for. But I mean, so it seems like they definitely designed Ret being around, cooldowns. Because Avenging Wrath 2 minutes, and they made Final Reckoning and Execution Sentence a 1-minute cooldown. So and it helps address the problem of paladins doing damage outside of wings, but it also gives them something that lines up with wings. So it seems confusing to me that they would make this 3 minutes. I mean, I don't know if they wanted to go against using a lot of abilities during wings. If that was the case, then why even give us these two? I guess we'll go even deeper into that, because Wake of Ashes, 45-second cooldown, doesn't fit with wings at all, or Final Reckoning. You're going to have to either wait the 15 seconds and not use it, and you're going to have to hold out on it. It's just to save it for, your Final Reckoning execution sentence burst window. And that leads me to my next point. So let me finish off for Holy Avenger. Holy Avenger, 3-minute cooldown. Holy Power generation is tripled for 20 seconds, not on the global cooldown. So you can use that in wings at the same time. You can use wings, Holy Avenger, cast a judgment, and get rolling. Nice talent, does good damage. And then so Seraphim. Now Seraphim, I liked this ability at first, and then I went through a period of beta where I just didn't like it. And then after the GCD changes, I was like, okay, let me give this another try, because before, running Execution Sentence, and Seraphim, and Final Reckoning felt really bad. Because of the GCD and everything. And don't get me wrong, those 3 are still in the GCD. It just seems so clunky, because Seraphim costs 3 Holy Power, and Execution Sentence costs 3 Holy Power. You get into a scenario where you're using a lot of Holy Power just on not doing damage yet. But playing around Seraphim, the 45-second cooldown doesn't really line up with your Final Reckoning or Execution Sentence, so you run into the scenario again where do I want to hold it for 15 seconds or just use it and buff my damage, but I do less damage in there. I've been testing both scenarios, and in the scenarios that I held it versus not holding it, really, I did about the same. So if you're so worried about the timings on that, you can even, kind of cheese it a bit and then eventually it'll roll over. So it lasts for 15 seconds. And as you can see, this is an 8-second buff, 8-second buff. If you use this around when their cooldown is around like 6 or 7 seconds, you can go ahead and use it early. That way you don't have to worry about it too much for casting it, right around the times they come up and wasting time. So you can get it out a few GCDs beforehand, and then eventually, those 5-6 seconds that you're not using it will add up to where you can use them, really close to each other and get that, real full benefit, like lining up with your wings, that is, because there's a slight, not overlap, but miss there, because you had twice, obviously, a minute and a half cooldown. This is, so using this twice to be a minute and a half, this was 2 minutes, this one we lined up, there's that 30 seconds of gap, so you might want to wait for those two abilities. I would just prefer them. Just make Seraphim. At this point, you may as well make it. Actually, no, I'm not even gonna say that. Make it a 30-second cooldown. You can nerf everything by like 1%. Like make the haste 7%, crit 7, verse 7, mastery like 11 or something. I'm fine with that. Make it 30 seconds on it, because that 45 is so awkward. So it seems like they encourage us to use certain abilities together, but at the same time, like, whoa, we don't want you using all of them together, even though, I mean, I don't see exactly what's wrong with that, because then you're just put in a situation like, well, I'm just going to hold it then. So it might as well be this cooldown anyway. Yeah, so that's Seraphim. I do like it. Playing around with it more, I mean, you look cool. The 8% haste, nice. The 13% mastery, 8 verse, essentially 21% extra damage. It's nice. Alright, so moving on next, we have the healing row. Justicar's Vengeance, I'll start off on that. I'll start off with the ability I don't like. Justicar's Vengeance. I remember when I first saw this ability back on Legion, I thought it looked so cool. I'm like, damn, I think it did 100% increased damage, so you would just nuke people with this sometimes. Yeah, it's gutted. It's trash. It heals you for the damage that it does, so 5 holy power for a 1200 heal. Sorry, 1400 heal. Word of Glory heals for 3k. And how many scenarios am I going to need that small of a heal on myself that I'm going to have to use a full holy power bar? Yeah, not many. This either needs a pretty big rework or just take it out entirely. I mean, you can make it baseline if you want to. That's fine. I mean, not going to be used anyway. You might just be dying like, oh no, I'm not going to press Word of Glory for some reason. And then you adjust Cards of Vengeance. Like, sure, why not? Yeah, this is trash. Throw it in the garbage. Light it on fire. I don't want it. Alright, Selfless Healer. Does what it does before. Did what it does before. Whatever. Yeah, English is hard, man. Yeah, your Holy Power abilities are just to cast time your flashlight by 25%. Second hit to 4 times, also increasing the healing done by 10%. So at max, it'll be 0 cast time for a 40% larger heal than it was before. Is it still not on my bar? Where are you at? Yeah, so Flash of Light, oh, here it is, okay. Yeah, heals for, 2.8k. Use a Holy Power ability. So it goes up to, 3k. As you can see, so increases by 10%. Good heal. Feels nice, feels okay to use. It's more natural, I'd say, than using Word of Glory, because you're not wasting holy power on it. It's just kind of building up naturally with you. But Healing Hands, so this one is actually, it is really good. Don't get me wrong. I like it a lot versus what it was before. So yeah, Lay on Hands reduces its cooldown by up to 60%, the lower the health of the person healing is, which if you're using Lay on Hands, the person's probably almost dead already. They're probably at like 10%, 15, or 20%. So yeah, it reduces up by up to 60%, and if you're using Unbreakable Spirit, I actually haven't tested this yet on someone on low health, so I'm not sure if it's going to scale based off of this, but either way, it should reduce it by like, it should give it probably like a 3-minute cooldown. I think that's what they're going for. But yeah, even with that, I think it's good. 3-minute heal for full health, essentially, because it's based on your maximum health. Yeah, pretty good. Word of Glory. Increases the healing by up to 100% based on missing target's health. I kind of talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again. Heals for about 3k, and it can heal for up to 6k. Granted you don't have any buffs from wings, but you know what I'm trying to say. And the last talent row. All right, I'm gonna lean back in my chair for this. Sorry if you hear the squeaking. All right, so the last talent row. So I'll start off, left to right. Sanctified Wrath was an Nazarite trait. Now it's a talent. Your Imaging Wrath lasts 25% longer. Enduring Wrath, each holy power spent. So 3 holy power, or I guess 5 if you use just cards of interest for some reason. Yeah, each holy power spent causes the target to explode for 170 damage. Multiply that by 3, it's about 510 damage. But even more than that, so that's actually the damage it does, because since it's used during wings, it does get the damage buff. So yeah, 200, so it'll do about 600 for every holy power spender that you use. Yeah, so it makes your wings 25 second duration. Yeah, it gives your wings a 25-second duration, which is always nice. Having longer wings, more damage, feels good. Not too much to say about that. I'll cover more on how I feel about them compared to each other after I talk about them each a bit. Crusader, so makes your wings, gives you basically the buff from Sanctified Wrath in terms of duration. Makes it 25 seconds, but that's because it's a builder. Each holy power spent will increase the damage by 3%. So each holy power ability gives it plus 9% up to 10 stacks, which would be at maximum 30% damage, 30% haste. You do start off at 1 stack already, so you have to use 3 holy power abilities to get it up to full. It builds up really fast. So I wouldn't really worry too much about that. But yeah, Crusade, that's what it does. 30%. So at max, that's 30% damage, 30% haste. You could probably get that while it has around 19 to 20 seconds left. If you go into wings with some holy power, as you should. And, probably Wicked Bash is off the cooldown. Then, it's going to help build it up. And it'll be about the same duration, but more damage. Because wings outside of Crusade, you only have 20%. So it's essentially a 10% damage increase on wings. So it's really nice. Final Reckoning, new talent, replaces Inquisition. Alright, so what this does, it's an uncapped AoE ability. Just to give you an example of how big the AoE is. Pretty big. It's pretty big, as you can see. Good range, has a lot of targets. It's nice. Uncapped, which is an important note. It's on the GCD, but it does do a lot of damage for an uncapped AoE ability. For example, your Templar's Verdict's doing 1800. It's doing 2300. AoE is great. And all the targets affected by it, they take 50% increased damage from your holy power abilities for 8 seconds. But GCD, it's really 7 seconds. And on top of that, say you want to use Execution Sentence with it. So you're going to use Final Reckoning, then Execution Sentence, and then you'll have time for probably, if you can manage your holy power right, or the stars align with certain things, you can get 2 to 3. You can get about 2 to 3 out. To help benefit from it, to buff execution sentence from it, because say if you use Execution Sentence first and then use Final Reckoning, you don't get the buff from it. You have to use Final Reckoning first. It's not going to be like you put, because this shows up as a debuff on the target, and so does this. So if this shows up first and then you use Final Reckoning, you're going to get 0 benefit added on to your Execution Sentence from it. So make sure you use Final Reckoning first. That's a very important note. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. It's a pretty big damage loss, because 50% increased damage. This makes this automatic. So it's not going to do for the full thing. It's not going to be like, oh, hey, if I build up 10k, it's going to hit for 15k. That's not the case. No, it essentially starts with an extra 1,000 damage in it. But yeah, no, I've done a lot of testing with it, and yeah, you do more damage with it, with using the Final Reckoning first. Alright, and oh yeah, it's passive. So while off cooldown, it's an important note, your attacks have a high chance to call down a bolt of light to do some damage and increase the damage they take from your next holy power spender by 10%. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it says off cooldown. Now, the whole problem with that is because it's not off cooldown often. 1 minute CD lines up with execution sentence and avenging wrath, so it's not gonna be off cooldown a crazy amount. Maybe like maybe some intermissions, so it'd be off cooldown then, but you're not really hitting them. You might be able to get 1 or 2 off. Maybe in your opener, you're trying to build up, say for Seraphim or something, you're trying to build up holy power for your burst sequence with execution sentence. Yeah, you might get 1 in there, but it's passive. I mean, I guess it did it in case you do have to hold it or don't want to use it for some reason. It just helps entice it more. But I mean, the passive is kind of useless. Honestly, it really is. I mean, I could see why in case you ever do have to hold it for some reason, it doesn't make it a waste, which I appreciate. I appreciate the thought behind it. Yeah, but the passive, I mean, nothing crazy or anything. Okay, so now that I've talked about all the talents, now the recommended build I'm going to give based on my testing. And this may change per covenant, but I'll talk about that. So the first tier for single target, raid, not heavy AoE swapping, you want execution sentence, blade of wrath, you can swap, Seraphim, healing hand, self healer, interchangeable, and final reckoning. Now with that and all the testing I've done, I do considerably more damage with Final Reckoning. I've tried using builds as Crusade and Sanctified Wrath. On single target, Sanctified Wrath and Crusade, they do about the same. On pure single target, they do about the same. On 2 targets, Sanctified Wrath does more. But yeah, pure single target. And with that, if you want to run Crusade, I have found that running Righteous Verdict is actually just better versus Execution Sentence, because it is kind of awkward because you are building up damage, you're not just starting off with that, so it makes that time kind of awkward. And everything I've been doing, Righteous Verdict has just come out on top on that because of the haste increase. You'll be able to pump out enough to help justify it. But that's the only build I actually see Righteous Verdict being good in. Because yeah, your haste is kind of low, so you're not always getting those. You don't have like a Memory of Lucid Dreams anymore, so you're not getting holy power refunds or anything. So yeah, Righteous Verdict gonna be good if you're using Crusade. Now Seraphim, it feels really nice with Crusade because you can use Crusade and Seraphim at the same time, and that costs 3 holy power, and you're ramping up anyway, so you're not crazy too much worried about all the damage doing at the beginning because it starts off low anyway. You're not losing too much value. So that's nice for that. Now, Sanctified Wrath. So with this, I mean, sadly, I'll talk about this actually in a second. So yeah, Final Reckoning, single target, it's amazing. 2 target, 3 target, it's still better than these two. Now for Mythic Plus, heavy AoE, Zeal, Blade of Wrath, it does more than Imperium Power. I'm sorry, Crusader Strike. It being tied to Crusader Strike is really killing this talent. It really is. Now there are some wonky things you can try with Imperium Power and Divine Purpose to get Imperium Power to proc Divine Purpose, but I mean it's a chance on a chance. I wouldn't really rely on that too much, if I'm being honest. It seems like a meme build. It's one of those builds I guess you could call a fun build. So nothing wrong with it. It's just how likely is this actually to happen. So Blade of Wrath, it's resets. It's nice. Holy Power Generator increases damage done. All right. And for this case, Unbreakable Spirit, having Shield of Vengeance more often and Divine Shield, it's nice. In heavy AoE fights or something, I mean, like I say, if you need mobility, go Cavalier. This tier is not crazy important to focus on. Alright, so for the AoE, Holy Avenger, Divine Purpose, or Seraphim, in everything I've been doing, Seraphim has been coming out on top. Now, I do like to play Divine Purpose in, heavy AoE sometimes because, yeah, getting those multiple Divine Storms does feel nice. But, yeah, the damage from Seraphim, it's essentially, if you read this as increases your damage by 21% for 15 extra seconds, using this, it's almost like having wings available. Like, it's like you have wings available for 15 seconds. Now, if you think about it like that, it makes a lot more sense versus just reading, 8%, then because versatility gets lost in it, it's at the very end. And 13% mastery, it's like, those sound kind of low, 8%, 13%. Well, when you actually look at it, it's a good damage increase. Holy Avenger, yeah, I'm sorry, Mythic Plus, 3-minute cooldown, it's not nice. It's really not. Heavy AoE fights, I mean, it's fine, alright? All of these do, sorry, I should point this out. All three of these, in every scenario, do about the same. Now, if I had to put it in order, Seraphim has been coming out on top every single time I've done any kind of testing. It's for single target, 2 target, 3 target, 5 target, 6 target. It's done the best out of all of them. Then right after that, like I said, Divine Purpose testing really wonky. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But with that, if I had to average them, these two do about the same. So if you want to go Holy Avenger, go Holy Avenger. Alright, the next tier, doesn't matter, pick one. Alright, moving on to AoE for the last talent row. Crusade, I'm sorry, you're not going to want to pick this. For AoE, anyway, it's come out on the bottom of everything I've done. And even just looking at the other two talents, you can see why. Sanctified Wrath, it's good, good for AoE. It looks like it's the de facto AoE talent. Competing with Final Reckoning, it seems like it does really good because based on what we have on live. But remember, this is not what we have on live. On live, we can stack 3 traits. This is not 3 traits stacked together. It's probably like 2 of the traits together, which it's not terrible. But Final Reckoning, that uncapped 2.3k damage, 50% increased damage on your, for the next 7-8 seconds. If you can line up your Holy Power correctly, you can get like 3 to 4 Divine Storms out, and those are all 50% increased damage on those. You can go for a Sanctified Wrath. It is a fun talent to use. I love using it. Use Avenging Wrath, get your Holy Power, and look, you explode. It looks awesome. So this will be Mythic. So for Mythic Plus, you can go Seraphim or Divine Purpose. Holy Avenger, sadly, that 3-minute cooldown I think is going to kill it a bit. If it was 2 minutes, it'd be better. For sure, 100%, less cooldown. It would just line up better with everything. But yeah, Final Reckoning, it's 1-minute cooldown. You're going to have it for pretty much every pool that you need it for at some point, either at the beginning or in the middle of it. It's fine. Yeah, so here's what I recommend for AoE. Like Mythic Plus. And for Raid, right here. So, really the only change is Zeal and Execution Sentence. That's a little boring. I'll be honest, it is a little boring. So you can try to spice it up, with Empyrean Power, Divine Purpose, Sanctified Wrath. Spice it up a bit. Why not? Yeah, if you're feeling it. But yeah. Alright, and if you made it this far, I just want to thank you for watching my video on Ret Paladin talents in Shadowlands. If you consider subscribing, I'd appreciate that, and hit like for me, if you will. The next video we'll be talking about the Kyrian Covenant, the Soul Binds, and the conduits inside that video. Alright, so stay tuned for that. Take it easy.